Yo, what is up guys? Hallu here, and today I am joined by Matthew. So, last week I was by myself, the week before that I was with Turbo. That is not how things are going to be from now on. I will be joined every single week from now on, by Matthew. So Matthew, uh, introduce yourself, let them know who you are.
Hey guys, my name is Matthew. Fairly new to being an analyst, fairly new to the NPL here as well. So hopefully you guys can bear with me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's looking like it'd be a fun season.
Yep, so give Matthew a big welcome, and we're just going to dive right into it. So number 16, I have Danicky. So again, we see no real identification of the win con from Dan, right? And barring seriously hacks, he just seems like he has no way to win. Um, so for the next week, I would like to see him properly identify and execute a way to win, not just click boosting moves and hope that something's happened, and then find himself at a 4-0, 5-0 deficit, and then try to hack his way back. Who do you have at number 16?
I have Danica as 16 as well. It was an interesting game, I suppose. I was actually very confused with kind of how he handled the Victini behind a sub. His team seemed kind of contradictory to me, I would say. It seemed like he started off trying to build a passives team that kind of relied on a lot of status, but halfway through he kind of switched to kind of a sticky web lead with Rabombi and then Trick Room in the back. I was also kind of concerned about the speed distribution. Excuse me. Half of his opponent's team rather was immune to the sticky webs. Four of them, if you include Gyarados. So it seems like kind of a strange bring for me, and that's why I put him at the 16th slot.
Okay, so number 15, I have Cheese Boy. So we were seeing from Cheese what I said when I talked about his post-drop power rankings, right? Is that he's struggling very, very hard with hazards. When you put up hazards, you're seeing the toll that it takes on him, right? We saw Volcanion can only come in like 3 times that game because of the hazards. We see it limiting Kyra Black's lifespan. Um, and Cheese definitely needs to start controlling the hazards because, yeah. Um, so let us never forget the Starmie is still available. I would definitely like him to make some free agents to see him get some better removal because Tentacruel and Rotom just are not doing it for him. And we are visually seeing the effects that hazards on his side of the field are having and the disadvantage they're putting. Besides that though, Cheese is also playing in a way that's putting him at a disadvantage, right? So he took a free 40% on his Steelix, which led to the death of Jirachi, 25% on his Kyra Black, just to do 33% to his superior. So definitely would like to see him control the hazards game, take more favorable trades, and I think then we'll start seeing him win soon because he definitely has threats. He definitely can make it work. He's just missing some key components. So who do you have number 15?
So I have Cheese at number 15 as well. I think Halu touched on several really good points right here. I think Superior, like, it's a difficult mon to play around in its own right, but I really don't agree with how Cheese decided to play around with it in that game. Halu brought up the 40% on Steelix, which I wholeheartedly agree with, and then he basically, after that, just sacked Jirachi. Even something like Okaberry, Thunderwave Jirachi, or something along the lines of that would have just been kind of a better answer to Superior in general than the way that he tried to handle Superior this game. I feel like he also could have played around with hazards a lot better. Rocks were up for pretty much the entirety of the game, and I think that was very difficult for him to deal with. I think Rotom had a easier time defogging on Mesprit than he tried to take, like that he really tried to do for. So, not a huge fan of that. Also, Tapu Bulu, I think it was kind of a cute bring, but I was a little bit kind of disappointed with how easily I think he was lured. That game was very close on paper, but given the fact that, like I said, rocks were up pretty much every time Volcanion came in, and at the end of the day, Blacephalon had a very, very easy time winning this game as long as he had a few sacks in the back.
Yep, definitely. So number 14, I have Ver. So Ver started off the game shakily, right? But he still knew one thing from his first place, that the Gardevoir was Scarfed. At least he should, because Hydreigon Nash outspeeds Gardevoir. Maybe he wasn't running speed, but I'm assuming he did. So then he proceeded to play well through his Gliscor, right? But they got to the point where he had like a 35% stack attacker. Instead of going back into the Gliscor and threatening it, he gave away his Hydreigon, which would have been fine if Gliscor remained healthy, but at that point in the game, Gliscor was never going to remain healthy. So he got swept by the Scarf Gardevoir, which was Quick Psychic, swept him out. So I would like to see Verge start to identify his opponents and win cons, right? He needed to keep Hydreigon so that way a Scarf Psychic Sweep just did not happen. It did happen. There's nothing he could do about it at the point that it did happen. It's something that needs to be happen like 5-10 turns in advance. So we'd like to see Vert start identifying his opponent's win con and playing around it. Where do you have Vert?
Yeah, right. Mine, I actually have mine kind of swept in spots with mine. So I have Magic as the position for right here. And I found he relied very heavily on Decidueye and it became very apparent that he relied very heavily on Decidueye to kind of break through his opponent's team. It seemed he had kind of a lot of trouble kind of pulling the trigger on some more offensive plays. So for instance, with the Mian Xiao, between switching into the high jump kick, until he was kind of forced to make those plays. And when it was at that point, and a good example right here is with the Venomoth, it was a very, very obvious play. And instead of switching into a Toxic, he switched into an Earthquake. So those are the two main things I found about Magic, and that's kind of why I put him down where I put him.
Okay. So you have Magic at 14, I have Magic at 13. So I do agree with you that you saw the reliance on Decidueye, right? Because he was slowly getting stalled out this game. We saw his lack of immediate firepower and way to beat rolls, right? So he was trying to use Nasty Plot Decidueye Pass to make up for it. But unfortunately for him, he just doesn't look like he has the receivers he needed to really make use of it in Break By, right? Comfy, that's using like a 50 base power move, is not bringing the firepower you want. And Greninja with Torrent really isn't giving you the firepower that you want, right? Um, so maybe we should see some transactions from him too, picking up a new breaker, or maybe he'll just have to get better using the Terrakion or the Kangaskhan. Maybe Kangaskhan just can't be defensive and has to go offensive, like some people were saying in post draft. But besides that, he still has yet to bring Cresselia. Cresselia is my homeboy. I want to see you bring Cresselia, David. That's all I want to see from you. So yeah, who's your number 13?
So for number 13, I had Verd here. So the game started off pretty interesting with the misclick on the very first turn, but we actually get a little bit of foreshadowing here on this turn that the Gardevoir is actually going to turn out to be a fairly big problem. I think that the prep for Verd wasn't bad. I really don't. I think he had a lot of potential to kind of win this game. For one example, I think Necrozma got a lot more value this game than I kind of thought it was going into this match. But as Hallu mentioned, the major turn here was when he decided to do Dark Pulse with the Hydreigon instead of Earthquake with the Gliscor. And I can kind of understand where he's coming from. I really can. I assume he was kind of afraid of losing what could be a potential 50-50 against Landorus, going for either Earthquake or HP Ice. But I feel that this turn was made the decision to make this turn was made very, very hastily. And I think he really ended up paying for it in the end. And that's kind of why I have it down here as well.
I definitely agree. So number 12, I have Aberforth. So I have been seeing a lot of crits on battle area as of late. Definitely a few of these crits definitely mattered, right? I really want to say that I thought Latios Mega was going to win the game without the crit, but I just don't think it had the raw damage to break by the full health sticker speed. Yanmega didn't have the firepower to bust by Coco without the crit. So this is definitely an interesting game. A lot of hacks on both sides. I can't say either person would win or lose. So that's why I have A at number 12. Who do you have at number 12?
So I have Aberforth here as well in the number 12 slot, and I certainly think this was a close match, and I think it was fair prep on both sides. A lot of the Mons I think had potential, a lot of potential this game. I think Lottie, Yanmega as well for some examples. But I feel like very much, I think like Hallu touched upon, I think they really lacked the extra oomph to go that extra mile and kind of close out the game. And I think it's kind of deceptive that I put him in kind of the lower half of the people in this in the order, because I actually really think this was a very, very fun game to watch. I think it was very well played, but I do think he's definitely justified being in the slot that he is.
Okay, so at 11 I have Trev CL. So I really don't know what to say about this game, right? The fact that Trev's team looked like he was just bringing memes and heat, but then, or the fact that I was like, wow, these memes and heat are really good. Like, I would definitely bring them too. So Trev's definitely got an interesting team. The double crit was definitely fortunate for Trev. But you still gotta wonder what the Persian Alola answer was, right? I don't know. It was a cool sweep. I think something that we'll see maybe one more time at most. I will say though that the Azumarill looked like it was also gonna sweep and snack harder on Trev's team than the Persian did on Maddie's. So good game, Trev. Saved you from getting embarrassed. Who do you have at number 11?
So I have Trev as well. It's pretty interesting because we're starting to get into the we're starting to get into the winners of this week. I really don't think there's very much I can really say about this game. Trying to ignore the unfortunate turn 5 that happened with the Azumarill, I think Pokemon that had potential to win, being the Persian of all things, and he went for it. Certainly very interesting game to watch. One of the most entertaining games this week, I would say, and a game that definitely defied expectations. But just like Hallu said, I don't see it happening, multiple times throughout the season. But yeah, that's why I put Trev as the first winner in this order right here.
Okay, perfect. So number 10, I have Crobat for the win. So he played a pretty solid game in my opinion, right? He kept Dan's team intact while he progressively chipped and killed. I thought he played really well with the Victini, broke with it well as well. Um, so I hope to see Danza use his Victini like this in the future because, well, if I recall correctly, we really didn't see this Victini play, at least not this successfully and this like aggressive and this like, yeah, I just want to say, I don't want to say like successful because that's like hindsight, but like I can't think of a better word, so we're just gonna have to go with it. Like aggressively applying pressure that is overwhelming the opponent. Um, yeah, which Victini can definitely do most matchups because it's fast movable. So yeah, we'd definitely like to see him put this much pressure on future opponents with the Victini because I think that's a big tool that he has, and with the Torrenti and Lando, I definitely think he can quickly overwhelm teams. So I would like to see him do that. Who do you have at number 10?
I have Crobat as number 10 as well, and if you look on just the raw results, it looks like it was technically a very, very close match, but I think that really the score doesn't do the game justice. I felt that Crobat was very dominating this game. It didn't really seem like I was like, oh boy, who's going to win this game? The prep was solid. We see, like I said, in this match, there isn't really anything he struggles to handle. The only things that seemed really remotely threatening were the Hoopa and the Zygarde, and his opponent pretty much let them go very, very early on. He was never really forced to make any incredibly risky plays. I'm also very glad he brought Taunt that game as well, because it would have been very unfortunate to see Miltank just win at the very end, but I'm here.
Definitely. So at number 9, I have Ace of Bass, or Ace of Base, I don't even know. So he held a bit of pressure for a bit of time, right? The H-Dash came in, and it ran town. So I would have preferred to see him click Shadow Ball instead of Psychic with the Specs Lottie, when he was going for the kill on Garchomp. At least I think it was Specs. Instead of Psychic when he was killing Garchomp, right? To prevent H-Slash from getting a free setup opportunity. Lost 50-50 with Togekiss, and by that point, the Para only really saved Torrential, right? Either H-Slash was going to sleep, or by that point, it was too late. The Scarf and the Lego, among other things, was going to win. Gypsy already knew how to win the game by that point. So tough loss. Still seemingly played well enough for playoffs. Right? I still think he's going to be a playoff contender, but I think he needs to step it up a bit if he wants to go all the way or even go deep past round 1 of playoffs. So who'd you put number 9?
All right, so I have Maddie here at number 9, and at the end of the day, anything I say can really come back to that turn 5 crit on a Azumarill. We know that Persian was Technician, which means I certainly wouldn't be able to take that Aqua Jet, so it's really very hard for me to kind of dissect a game where the Pokemon who wins the game is removed at the very beginning of the game. So I really don't want to say too much of prep or lack thereof, because Trev certainly brought a fairly unconventional team, I'd say. But I believe there's something to be said here about the speed control on this team. The team Matt brought was very slow, the fastest Mon being a dual screens Raikou. Not only would something like a Scarf Latios, just as an example, kind of have prevented the unexpected Persian sweep, but it also, in my opinion, had kind of solid matchups versus something like a setup Salamence or even something like a Specs Icy Wind Keldeo, something along the lines of that. And that's why I, in my opinion, couldn't justify putting him much higher on this list.
Okay, so number 8, I have Gregulator, right? So Greg played well this game. It really went in with a strong idea how to win the game. So you played around the touch appropriately, hit a Z move to give Verd a false sense of security. Understood that a broken Gliscor would set up Char-X, but I think I'm more impressed with the identification that killing Hydreigon with Stack Attacker and staying in and risking it or whatever would set up the Gardevoir. So at least I hope at least I hope that he knew what he was doing and get the kill, wasn't just trying to sack and got lucky. Because if so, then that's definitely some high level play from Greg that definitely impressed seeing. Hope he keeps up, because play like that's what you're going to need to get deep in the playoffs and go deep this season if you want to challenge the finals. So what do you have number 8?
Number 8, I have Ace of Bass here. I think Ace had a solid team, very solid team, but I think during practice, I think his team was weakened in some very key areas, and I think it crumbled as a result of that. With Seismitoad and Muck out of the way, all that he could really do was hope for paralysis. But even then, kind of the damage had already been done, and that's why I put him down where I put him.
Okay, so number 7, I have the Bee's Knees, right? So a win for Adam that was close but decisive. However, he took a while to get there and had to rely on cheese, not really identifying it. In these two games, what I've seen from Adam is that he can identify his win con, but he does not always make the optimal plays to get there, right? If Cheese had just click stopped on the Fire Blast, it would have been a very different game. So would have liked to see him go surf, not just sit there and like dwindle his thumb and like let 20, 30 turns pass by, hoping the blue, while he was against the blue, hoping to see something happen and make more aggressive plays. So that way he wins the games on his terms, not his opponents. That's definitely what you're gonna have to do if you want to beat top tier threats. So who do you have at number 7?
All right, so we're back on track here because I have Bees Knees at number 7 as well. I think his team was well structured, very well structured. I think he identified how powerful Blacephalon was this game, and he really gave it the support it needed to win. I feel like the Bulu Dragonite exchange shouldn't have worked out as well as it did for him, but it did work out for him at the end of the day. It was a very cool lure, the Inferno Drive. It's very happy to see that. That was really cool to see. There's not really much for me to say here, I don't think. He never put himself in a losing position, even if, like Hallu mentioned, it took him kind of a little while to get there. And that's why he's up where he is right now.
Okay, so number 6, I have Matty Brawlick. So, I definitely can't say he had a good defensive answer to the young person Lola. And I can't say for certain, though, that he deserved to lose the game. So while we compare teams, like as I said before, Azumarill looked like he was going to click Bellow Drop and snack on Trev's team. I don't know, either way. I do agree that his speed control wasn't that good, but he probably did have priority, which definitely would have helped a lot against the Alolan Persian, as I think it swept at like 30% if I recall correctly. So Shrug, don't know what to say. Raphael this week, we'll definitely see what he does next week. Who do you have at number 6?
So number 6, I have Greg, and I'm actually very much a fan of the team Greg brought. I thought it was very aesthetically pleasing. I thought it worked very well together. Nothing really appears to be a liability or dead weight with this team, which I really like. I like how he used Toxicroak, and I think trading the damage on Necrozma was very important for limiting what the Mon could do, because like I said before, I think Necrozma had a lot of potential in this match, and having to take that gunk shot, I think, was really, really big. I think he played safely, and it didn't really make any plays he didn't have to, which is smart. You don't always have to be flashy. I think Focus Blast Gengar could have made this game go a lot differently. But other than that, I really like how he played his Landorus into the Gliscor. Hallu mentioned about the Z move, and I used that as well. He was able to deal with the Gliscor. And obviously that let the Gardevoir do what it had to do. So that's why I put him as high as I did.
Okay, so number 5, I have Moxie Infernape. So definitely a rough L. Very unfortunate miss on the Heatran with the Infernape. If Tornado had to come in and revenge the Nape, it would have taken rocks damage, maybe died to the Bullet Punch in the game, right? But presumably it had Vacuum Wave, so it couldn't even done that. But hypothetically, if it didn't, and that is what happens. We expect it to be in the Bullet Punch range in the game with Metagross click Bullet Punch because shorter rounds up, so that's 7%. He did land other Focus Blasts, though. With a 7% chance, you expect it to miss sometimes. Missing 4 in a row would have been pretty lucky on his part. Definitely a close game nonetheless. Yeah, rough L. Press, by the way, Blake's been playing this season so far. Who do you have at number 5?
So I have Moxie and this slot as well. I think it was a very close match. I would say that this is probably the most flashy replay we have for this week. Both teams really had really great prep, and it was really neat to see just how powerful a well-played Infernape could really be. I was very happy with the prep. I think it was as solid as he could really get the prep. I was a little bit disappointed to see the Mew outsped and go down to the Heatran. I think that was an unfortunate turn, but honestly, I don't disagree with the set, as Lele is a very real threat. Although got more individual plays wrong than his opponent, he really played well this game, and he set himself up for Infernape to pull him through, which unfortunately it wasn't able to do at the end of the day. But it was a very good game, and definitely a very highly rated game, which is why I ranked him as highly as I did.
Right, so number 4, Mr. Murkrow. Definitely got extremely lucky against Infinite Buzzweed, like both just said, right? Especially if it was carrying Vacuum Wave. He did not really respect it in prep or play around it all that well, in my opinion. Focus Blast does have a large chance to miss, right? And Blake would have to land a few, probably like 3 or 4 that game if he wanted to land them all. But I hate seeing wins where they win because of a Mr. Para, not because of their own play prep, like they made an aggressive play on the game, just waiting for something to happen that is a letdown for his opponent, like the Focus Blast miss. So that's why I have him at number 4, not higher. Who do you have at number 4?
So number 4, I have Gotham City, Pokemon TCG. This was a much more conservative and slow-paced game than I would have really assumed, just kind of on team matchup. That being said, it certainly was a joy to see the splintered Storm Shards animation, as Lycanroc was able to pretty much guarantee a kill very, very easily in this game. He was able to get a lot of plays right. The most important ones, as I kind of talked about earlier, being the high jump kicks with Skirmry, and again, Earthquaking on the Venomoth switch again. The biggest threat, in my opinion, for this game was what the Decidueye would be able to do if it was uncontested and allowed to do whatever it wanted to do. But I think he did pretty good in playing around it, and that's why I ranked him all the way up here.
Okay, so number 3, I have Aster J, right? So Aster off the game with pressure, quickly found himself without pressure and on the back foot against the Snorlax, but I do really like how he lets the Snorlax close to 50% as possible, and was able to come on and revenge kill it. With all the hacks that happened, definitely made the game interesting. In my opinion, though, if we just ignore the hacks and just count it what it is, because there was quite a bit on both sides, right? He won the game turn 16 when he led, when both Pokemon died, and he led the Diggersby against the Tyranitar. Huge play, in my opinion. That is what sealed the game for him, gave him the advantage, I think, enough to win the game. And he got great value from his Diggersby, unique value from Komao. So I think he's playing well, he's prepping well, in a way that people are going to have to be wary of Aster. They can't just sleep on him in his team like they were trying to at the beginning of the season. So who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I have Merc, just I believe 1 slot higher than it was on Hallu's. In the early game, I think Merc played very well against things like the Infernape, the Mew, and the Pidgeot, getting, I think, a lot of big plays right, and as a result, being kind of able to limit how much effectiveness those Mons would really have that game. The Infernape made things a lot closer throughout the mid game, and the game really came down to that Focus Blast turn versus the Heatran. It was a very close match, though, and Merc made some great reads that really kept him in the game, and I think overall, it was a very, like I said before, a very flashy game to watch, and that's why I have him in number 3.
Okay, so number 2, I have Pokey TCG Gamer, right? So Rob is playing his team well, the team that he drafted well, playing long games where he slowly gains advantages. So I do really like his prep, right? He knew David had a fat team, no immediate firepower, so you're not worried about getting instantly broken on a single turn if something goes wrong. So just bringing Toxic, letting it go to work, let it wear down the team, dealing with the Mega Kangaskhan that's defensive, dealing with the Decidueye, Comfy, all the great stuff that really just doesn't have the raw firepower, whether it be no boosting moves, whether it be no strong base power moves, whatever it is. Just overall, so far, 2 weeks of really solid matches from Ross, so definitely interested in seeing him clash with the best soon. You're number 2.
So number 2, I have Aster here. I really like a lot of the points that Hallu brought up. I think he kind of lost momentum a little bit into the middle of the game. He buckled from the Snorlax, but he didn't break. And as he talked about, keeping it down to as close to 50% without crossing that threshold, I think was really important. And he kept kind of a clear head throughout the game, and he turned the game around in his favor. And really, Quick Attack was kind of a godsend that game. It was a close match. It was a joy to watch, and that's why I have him in number 2.
Okay, so at number 1 we have Gypsy King. Gypsy began to show up this game. How threatening 8th Age Slash really can be this season. Probably will be this season, right? So we got to see the signature 50-50 from it on Togekiss, which Gypsy did not lose. So identified the win con, won the game, won the 50-50. Standard stuff from Gypsy King. To talk about your number 1.
So standard stuff indeed. We definitely have a Gypsy King up here in number 1 slot for me as well. Not really a whole heck of a lot to really talk about this game. Gypsy knew what won, and he knew how to get there. Aegis Glass showed up big, but honestly, even without it, Gypsy was in a very comfortable position throughout this entire game, and never in a position where he was kind of afraid of just straight up losing. So that's why I had to put him up there in number 1 slot.
Definitely. Okay, so that is all for this power rankings. Yeah, give big shout outs to Matthew for stepping in. Welcome in the chat and everything like that.
We're glad to be here.
I don't think we have any announcements at this time that I'm trying to think of. I think analyst applications are now closed. So definitely check out all the coaches videos. I think they went up yesterday. I don't know. We'll find out later. There's definitely a schedule in the official fan server, so head over there, check everything out. Do you have any last comments?
For having me, guys, and yeah, just keep doing your thing, and we'll keep doing our thing.
Yep, definitely. So see y'all guys next week.